Hey again, everybody, this is Matthew Kent. Welcome to Theology on the Ground and the daily video going over a thought from my quiet time. It's been about 80 weeks in a row, 80 days in a row that I've done this. I've really enjoyed it. I hope there are some of you out there who have enjoyed it too. Today, John chapter 6 and the feeding of the 5,000. So John chapter 6, starting in verse 1. After this, Jesus went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias, and a large crowd was following him because they saw the signs that he was doing on the sick. We've talked about this a lot. John pays a lot of attention to signs and the reaction that people have to the signs. Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was at hand. Lifting up his eyes then and seeing a large crowd was coming toward him, Jesus said to Philip, "Where are we to buy bread so that these people may eat?" He said this to test him, for he knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii would not be enough bread for each of them to get a little. So they are broke. They have no money to buy bread for everybody, not even enough for them to get a little bit. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what are they for so many?" And Jesus said, "Have them sit down." So there's 5,000 people there. Probably 5,000 men is what they mean. So maybe even more than that with the women and the children. But even just saying there's 5,000 people, you got 5 loaves of bread. That's some pretty easy math. Everybody gets 1/1,000th of a loaf of bread. Have you ever had 1/1,000th of a loaf of bread? Small fraction of fish, small fraction of bread. This isn't going to work. But we all know this story works. Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." Now there was much grass in the place. So the men sat down, about 5,000 in number. So again, the men sat down about 5,000 in number. There could be women and children there, or maybe there's just 5,000 total people. We don't know. Jesus then took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them. He gave thanks. It's crazy. Jesus is God, and Jesus is about to multiply this food, and he's giving thanks for the 5 loaves and 2 fish. Just something to think about. And distributed them to those who were seated, so also the fish, as much as they wanted. And when they had eaten their fill, he told the disciples, "Gather up the leftover fragments, that nothing be lost." So they gathered up and filled 12 baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten. When the people saw the sign he had done, they said, "This is indeed the prophet who has come into the world." And again, that's referencing back to Deuteronomy 18, which we mentioned the other day, that Moses said to the people of Israel, "Hey, there's a prophet coming like me, and you'll know it's him because what he does will come true. And the people who are not him, you'll know it because what they say will not come true." Now, the part that's so interesting to me about this is one of the only stories that's in all 4 Gospels. And I believe like other stuff he knows about the crucifixion, the resurrections in all 4 Gospels. I think this is the only event from the ministry of Jesus. The transfiguration is in all the synoptics, but I don't think it's in John. I think this is the only event that's recorded from the ministry of Jesus in all 4 Gospels. None of them leave it out. But in John's Gospel in particular, it's always been the account that I've enjoyed the most, and mostly because of this detail here of the conversation between Philip and Andrew and Jesus. And so Jesus is asking Philip, just testing him, like, what are we going to do? Where are we going to buy bread for these guys? And Philip's like, I don't know, we can't buy bread for these guys. And Andrew, who knows what made him think to point this out, because there's no chance of it working. He goes, "Well, there's a little boy here who's got a Lunchable. He has 5 loaves and his 2 fish. And just that detail of the fact that it was a little boy, right? In the other narratives, it's just sort of like they like, well, we have 5 loaves and 2 fish here. But here it's mentioned, well, we have 5 loaves and 2 fish because a little boy is willing to give up his Lunchable. Now, what chance did that little boy think he had of feeding everybody? 0. 0, 0, 0. But I hope he gave up his Lunchable willingly. I'm assuming here that Andrew didn't like take this by force or something like that. I feel like Jesus would have rebuked him there. But the point and the takeaway that I have is that, listen, you might feel like you're not in a place where you can be used by God, but that's the wrong mindset. The right mindset is, Lord, here's what I have, and you use it because you are mighty. And so that's the whole point here. The little boy couldn't feed 5,000 people, but Jesus can. And so by bringing your small contribution to Jesus, he's able to multiply it a thousandfold, more than a thousandfold. They actually ended up taking more than they had initially, and so people were eating freely. So listen, I mean, here's the thing. Serving God is one of the greatest privileges that you have as a human being. It just is. He's the creator of all things. He made the universe. He loves you, and he's happy like a dad to have you come alongside him and engage in the things that he's doing and spreading the gospel message and helping the poor and the needy and comforting those who need comfort. So whatever your small contribution is, don't shy away from making it, because first of all, serving God is one of the greatest privileges, period. And second of all, he can multiply the result far more than you could ever imagine. Those are my thoughts for today. Lord willing, I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. God bless.